Hello paper crafters, it's Olga. I'm back again with a spring-themed shaker card tutorial. I'm also going to demonstrate how you can create a shaker element with a super intricate die that does not have enough space to place any foam tape behind it. Plus we are going to create a nice spring floral arrangement. I'm going to start by creating the shape of the card. I'm going to need one note card 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches and the second largest die from old paper die set by Gummiapan. I'm placing the die over the note card and securing it with washi tape. It's important that one edge of the die is placed right above the fold line so that it won't cut through. The die cuts through 2 layers of cardstock perfectly. Now the card measures 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 inches. Next I'm going to use a Woodgrain embossing folder by Sizzix to create some texture. I'm inking up one side of the folder with walnut stain distress ink for some tone-on-tone look. Then I have to open up the card base, place one side of it inside the folder so that only the front part will be embossed. Then I'm closing up the folder and running it through the die cut machine. The result is embossed card front with some added color. For the shaker element I'll be using this die called Doodle Circle. It's also by Gummiapan. I will need 6 die cuts. Before I start assembling the shaker element, I'm going to do some heat embossing on acetate. I'm treating a piece of heat-resistant acetate with the anti-static powder. The sentiment I'm going to emboss is from Spring LILACS stamp set by Memory Box. I'm going to stamp it with the VersaMark ink, then apply some gold embossing powder, just as I would do with the cardstock. When embossing the acetate, you have to remember to preheat your tool really well so that you will heat set the powder just in a few seconds and it's not going to warp the acetate. After heat embossing, I can wipe off all the excess anti-static powder with the baby wipe. Now I'm going to apply some glossy accents in tiny dots onto the wrong side of one of the die cuts, and then I'm placing it on top of the acetate and pressing it down with a large acrylic block. That is going to hold it down nicely so that I am sure that all the areas are nicely stuck. While glossy accents is drying, I'm going to work on other 5 die cuts. Actually, I'm going to stack them all one on top of another, securing them with some liquid glue. I'm using Ranger Multimedia Matte. It's going to create a really thick element and it will help us to raise it above the surface of the card, and at the same time it doesn't take away any intricacy from the die. When the glue is dry, I'm going to fussy cut this scribble circle, trimming off all the excess acetate. This particular die is very convenient for this purpose because the outline is really simple and all the intricacy happens to be inside this outline. Then I'm applying some glossy accents onto the thick piece and I'm covering it up with the acetate frame and making sure I'm aligning it really well. If you are interested in the products that I'm using, you can find the list of supplies in the description as well as on my blog. Now I'm applying adhesive onto the scribble circle again, but before I stick it down, I'm going to add some yellow sequins onto the card. The sequin mix I'm using is by Cat Scrappiness. I'm covering it up with my scribble frame and pressing it down with an acrylic block again. And this is the end result. The frame is stuck down nicely and the sequins are moving inside quite easily. Now I'm going to create a little floral arrangement to embellish my card. This die is called a Twig with Berry. It cuts out a nice outline, but what I would like to do is to add the backgrounds to the leaves. So I'm applying some adhesive to the leaves only and then sticking pieces of paper behind them. When the glue dries, I'm going to fussy cut the leaves, trimming off all the extra paper. Leaf outlines are also very simple. I'm going to need 3 of those branches for my card. Then I'm going to curl up the leaves slightly. I'm just wrapping them around the pen. I'll do that to all 3 branches, and then I'm going to make some flowers. To create my daffodils, I'm going to use this beautiful small die by Magnolia. I'm starting by curling up the petals around the wooden skewer, and then I'm using the same skewer to wrap this cone piece around it. It also has a tiny flap at the side of it, so I'm gluing it up, and then I'm forming it into a cone. The next part is a little bit tricky. I'm using my round nose pliers. These are the ones that are normally used for jewelry making, but I'm going to bend the edges of the cone outwards. This step is totally optional, though the flower will still look very nice even if you don't do this. There are also 3 tiny flaps at the bottom of the cone, and I'm using them to glue this cone onto the petals of the daffodil. And I'm also going to place a small pearl in the center of the flower. So now I have 3 branches and 3 flowers to create my arrangement. I'm starting by attaching the 2 large twigs, and I'm trimming them down if necessary. Then I'm going to attach the 3 daffodils. I'm using the hot glue because it's perfect for sticking down dimensional elements like those. Hot glue is also perfect for attaching paper elements to acetate. When the daffodils are attached, I'm going to add a few more leaves, tucking them behind the flowers. I'm also going to add a half pearl to each berry on the branch. And my card is finished. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you found some of my ideas interesting and you will give them a try. I hope to see you again in a couple of days. Happy crafting!